listen to that. No words. No words. Describe. I should have said. The poet. So beautiful.
I'm representing all the poetesses and poets of my family, musicians they are, and Co-Secretary General
You need to see what I see. You need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the Co-Federation Solar Sun our starship planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth, as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore are and all are in fact familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, rebalance, and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have any dimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum, balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both in each, and each both in all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunderous blast, she emerges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She is risen from the nativity of Carpenter. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
We all are risen by my intercession.
Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Om Mahalakshmi Mrudapriya Maharupa Mahapudya Mahapadakranashini Mahamaya Mahasattva Mahashakti Maharati Mahabhuta Maheshwarya Mahavidya Mahabala Mahabuddhi Mahasiddhi Mahayogeshwareshwari Mahatantra Mahamantra Mahayantra Mahasana Mahayagatramāradhya Om Mahabhairava Pujita Maheshwara Mahakalpaka Mahatandava Sajini Mahadavesha Mahiji Mahatripura Sundari Chatushti Upacharadhya Chatushti Kalamayi Mahachatushti Koti Yogini Ganasevita
That was Scott. I should have said the poet.
I have with me all the poetesses and poets of my family. They are musicians, they are co-leaders, they are holy beings becoming risen, despite their lack of understanding at the moment. I am acting on their behalf.
This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not your our new millennial law.
Okay. I've heard the Patricia. Maybe better
May sunflowers, celestial tea and blackwood. This is Anna Marie, singing cricket, and I am Cherokee, Cheyenne, Blackfoot, and Algonquin, Dakota. And I am also French, English, and German. That means we are all related. We embrace the new millennial golden rule as the law of Alltimate of the sacred ground that is Mother Earth and all the planets of all the universes.
Welcome to our broadcast, our middays broadcast. We are broadcasting from the heart and headquarters of the family community of love, life in light of balance, of the Co-Federation of Earth and Planets of the New Millennial Golden Rule. The New Millennial Golden Rule is available at 5050now.wordpress.com. It has 5 components. The first component is the Panchayat Raj or village rule that provides for local, global, universal neighborhoods decision making with full gender parity for both females and males, and intersectional justice for any minorities, and also full presence of youth. The second component is the Genuine Progress Indicator, a well-known innovation improvement over the gross domestic product for counting the real wealth, for doing a real accounting of what is sustainable wealth of any region at all, every region. And so it can be calculated for a household, a neighborhood block, and it should be a subdivision of a suburb or a city block or areas, what has been traditionally thought of as a state region, what has been traditionally thought of as a national region, and of course for the entire planet. It can be calculated at all of these levels. It's just a matter of feeding the data into computers, which we already have, and we would know on an ongoing basis what is happening in terms of our sustainable wealth. It's nice to have it's kind of a big thermometer for human progress, okay? The third component is the circle process, and we are gathering the women first of all our families' communities and asking them to bring their youth, female and male, age 37 and younger, and so that we can reclaim a balance on our planet of the true balance of this world, which needs to have a balance of yin and yang. We are very yanged. We have been for thousands of years. We've had thousands of wars. We've had much disease. We've had social upheaval. We've had social alienation. We have divorce. We have family falling apart. We have orphan children. We have all kinds of symptoms of patriarchy. We need parity, and all of these symptoms will vanish, and we will be living happy, healthy, sustainable lives on this and all the planets that we will discover and terraform in addition to this home planet, our planet Earth. And those are the three conceptual components. The fourth component is the is you, and you. And that's where we're having some problems, because you, and you know the new millennial golden rule, but you haven't enough of you said enough on its behalf and shared it with enough zeal and enough energy with one another to bring each other and yourselves out of the mind-boggling programming that patriarchy is. And the fifth component is the Mother, Father, Goddess, God, who I am praying to continually and asking to please, despite my errors and despite your stubborn error of holding on to the delusion that you can have government that is in the patriarchal model, I ask Goddess God's forgiveness for all of us, for my errors too. I have been slow, I've been delayed, distracted, tired, at times, because it's a big task, and I really let it get out of hand because I didn't know it was my task for so much of my life. So you have been harmed by my delay, but I am not giving up on you because I love you and Goddess God loves you, and that's the truth. So we're not giving up on you at all. We think that you can find your way into the light of parity relatively quickly and soon, and then you will be enjoying co-broadcasting with me, co-hosting and co-hosting as Equinox, True Q's, co-secretary generals, co-saviors of this and many more planets that will open up on basis of this. So I'm going to make a couple of phone calls, and then I'm going to do the ceremony that we always do on this part of the broadcast. I ask you to go to read 5050now.wordpress.com. If I were you, I'd scroll through all the menus on the site and read the entire website. It probably would take about maybe 3 or 4 hours to go through the entire website. It will open up your eyes, it will open up your heart, it will open up your mind, and it will open up your spirit to what you should have had for the many thousands of years since the decline and fall of Atlantis. You should have had egalitarian society. If you had, we'd have opened up the stargates a long time ago, and we'd have had eternal life a long time ago. You just have to understand that patriarchy is the big error, and it's a very deeply entrenched error, and people are in the habit of it in every kind of way, in their interpersonal interactions and in their institutions, and what they recognize as legitimate and what they don't see as illegitimate. And all of these errors are interacting and confusing you. That's why we've given you this website, to give you the truth. You are beloved of the Mother, Father, Goddess, God, not just God the Father. And you are beloved to me. And although I am a female, I also have not only the Mother, but the Father within me. All people do. So I'm acting on behalf of both of them at this time, until we can regain the balance, and then we can have more females and males delivering this more completely to you, and you will feel more the presence of the male. That's what's lacking, and it is lacking because of my delay and my separation from family that was in a good position to help with this. Many family, both females and males, and so the separation of our family really caused this delay. And I am working as best I can through these broadcasts to give our family a venue to come back together and to exercise their full potential as co-secretary generals, co-saviors, Equinox, True Q's. And of course, all people who are listening to this are also my family. So even though you may be slightly more distant kin, you can also do this. We all have the spark of the Mother, Father, Goddess, God. All of us. And you can call in to 641-715-3580, and the access code is 773342. And that is a conference line, and I will assist you to participate optimally when you call in. If it is not available, just wait a little while. It will be available again when we broadcast. Sometimes we make some outreach calls, and that it can't be done at the same time I'm on the conference line. So if you don't reach me, just wait, and you'll reach me either later in this broadcast or again in another broadcast coming up. So now we're going to make some outreach calls. Bear with us. We'll be right with you. Hi, my beloved family and community of Winston Towers and more. There's more than Winston Towers residents who have this phone number. All of the people who I make the rounds of can call in, and they probably have been to some extent. I don't know what extent, because this telephone service doesn't keep a record of who's calling. It doesn't show unless they actually leave a message. People just call in and listen, and they don't leave a message. I would have no way of knowing. So people are likely calling in and hearing all these messages. Your building has the seeds of the recognition of the importance of the partnership of Magdala and Nazarene families. That's why it's called Towers. And the winning of the ton is a recognition of what Julia Marie was trying to communicate to me when she gave me the Da Vinci Code. She knew that something about the eternal feminine was important. And when she gave me the lace readers, she was telling me that we had skipped a step in the knitting of our lace as a family, which we did, which was the gathering of the women. We skipped it at many, many stages and at many, many times. And it was partly because we went away to school, and partly because there were separations of geography for other reasons, and also because both Julianne and I, and even Harriet to some extent, were more focused on marriage than we recognized the need for a larger meta-level marriage of the eternal feminine and the eternal masculine within society. I was busy trying to find a husband. Julianne found a couple of husbands, Julia Marie, and it distracted us from something that we needed to do first, which was to enjoy the fruits of what was beginning to emerge in goddess theology, and also the divine feminine, the knowledge of the divine feminine in all cultures around the world, and also how to implement it politically, economically, and in a practical way that was sustainable to protect Mother Earth, the planet Earth, which is actually mother and mother-father in interaction. It is yin and yang in interaction. So now I'm going to leave a message on the on individual lines, and I'm going to be leaving a message on the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 line. Again, doing the entire Eleucosavioral ceremonies, and I'll also play the voice tape that refers quite a bit to our grandmother Ray. Grandmother Ray was unusual in her time. She did something that was unusual for her time. A lot of women of that time were submitting to the traditional yoke of secondary status she had a little bit more leeway and freedom than most women did. And she gathered women, which was an unheard of thing to do, and a very foresighted thing to do, but she didn't recognize exactly what she was doing. She was kind of murbling around with it, thinking she was just selling hats. Actually, what was happening there was a community was forming, and women were regaining status and self-esteem from one another. You have to have that at Winston. And you have a lot of women in your community there who are really very fallen into a stupor. A lot of them are taking drugs. A lot of them have caretakers who also come from families which often were families of abuse. The caretakers were abused women and are being underpaid and undervalued. And their families are also being deprived of them because our society has commodified everything that women do and commodified everything that men do. And that's because we have lost our balance with nature and we don't recognize that we have other greater sources of wealth, particularly solar energy, which is enormous in its impact. But you are not yet getting it. So I'm going to leave this message and call back. Okay, and huge hugs to everyone who's calling into this line. I'm going to do the entire Leucosaviral ceremony. I'm also going to include the tape excerpt from two sisters talking about two sisters and honoring all sisters of our family and all sister Kazinas, because the tape excerpt refers to the gathering of women and the protection of children and youth that's done by women and is the traditionally and most importantly, in fact, to understand tasks of the divine feminine. But in our times, in order to accomplish that task, we also have to use the common sense that was given to North Americans in January and February of 1776. A government that has equal percentages of women, full percentages of women, involves indigenous people, involves minority people in presence of the population, involves people of all ages, not just older people of accumulated wealth, and does not have any slavery of any kind required, and does not allow the need for a property requirement. In other words, the commoners, the common people, what people have in common, is what makes them great divine democracy bringers. And it is what was called at the time the Enlightenment. That was the understanding that humanity had a divine quality, a noble, ethical, kind aspect that could be developed through the practice of democracy. You right now are being cheated terribly, and even the people who are cheating you are cheating themselves. They're all missing out on the potential of eternal life on this and all planets. In science fiction terms, it means becoming equinox true Qs. In other words, people who live in harmony with nature, eternally young, and also on the true Qs, they have such power of consciousness, they can literally enter in and out of various time frames without having to do anything. It is the way they think that gives them that ability. You actually have that ability. And what you have to know is that the human family tree is always a situation of partial reincarnation. Each generation builds upon the previous generation's achievements and optimally improves on them. When something is going wrong, and it always does go wrong, when patriarchy is too long practiced and the people don't rise into egalitarian society, it degrades and people begin to lose their intelligence and do really stupid things like we have done. We have huge nuclear weapon stockpiles, but billions of people who live in poverty. We have all kinds of pollution. We don't need to. We have renewable energy resources that would not pollute, and we've had them since the 1970s. But why is it we're doing this? I'll tell you why. Because half of the people who should be there to make the decisions, more than half, the women and the younger people who have particularly a great deal at stake, and also minorities, are missing in lots of places around the world. And so what you wind up with is a very skewed misunderstanding of what is power and wealth. And it is the power of a thumping ape on his chest rather than the power of a genius. Which do you want to be? We have female geniuses and we have male geniuses both. And we need them both. You have to be both. I want the women particularly to regain what they've been cheated from. We're coming close to women's, what's traditionally called Women's History Month, this March. And that name has our family names in it, Mar. Mar is associated with Mary or Mariam, and it is associated with the goddess Mari, and it's also associated with the god Marsyas. These were goddesses and gods of nature, of flow, of giving, of wealth that was natural, not manufactured, commodified, productified, and pollution making. It was a different kind of wealth. And that's what the equinox true Qs have. They have a different kind of wealth, and it is far superior, it is sustainable, and it opens up the stargates. Now, I have been in touch with the family of the women of the Sweet Sagan branch that was connected to the Margulies, to the Alexander Margulies branch. I am in touch with those women, and I'm going to be naming them also. I'm a partial reincarnation of Carl Alexander Sagan Margulies' mother. Okay, that's one of my incarnations. You also all have multiple spiritual incarnations that are trying to work through you for good, to do good. And when you negate other women and create cliquishness and hang out only in situations where older men are giving you rewards and the women are primarily underlings and unable to give the same level of reward, then you are in patriarchy and you are depriving the eternal feminine. And that does not help men. It hurts men, because men have X chromosomes too, and they need the eternal feminine to be fully risen in order for their testosterone aspect to be channeled correctly. If not, it goes haywire, and you have the kind of situations that we have on this planet. Absurd selections that are not elections at all, with relatively obviously reprehensible people thumping around. And all of the more talented people are hanging back and trying to figure out how to get out of this mess. There is a way out. You have the way out. It is the new millennial golden rule. You just have to share it and discuss it with the women that you know and you live near, and also the ones who you're genealogically related to that you know of, and as many colleagues and friends who are also, of course, family. We're all related on this planet. In fact, the archaeologists and anthropologists have proven that many, many times over. And that's all you have to do. And then you have to teach it to younger people, female and male, so they don't get dragged back into apehood. Because you can't have nuclear weapons and be apes. You can't have, well, all of the technologies that we're using in the energy sector now, right? Many of them, and some of the ones being used in the food sector, are very dangerous. They're very destabilizing to the planet and to nature. And you know that. I don't have to tell you this. You're not stupid people. You know that our bee population is declining badly. You know that our air is filled with carbon and now methane. You know this. The question is, why do you allow this? Why do you allow this? Because you were hurt by your mothers, or disappointed by them, or disappointed by other women, maybe including me. And you don't want to try again, but you have to try again. Because you have the key. You are the key. You have to try again. And when we do this, Rachel Gruber, Carl's mother, will come through the Stargate along with us, Hera Harriet. They'll all start coming through. This is what that visionary person who was a son figured out. But there were other people who were sons and daughters both who also figured this out. And in many, many epochs of religion too, they figured this out in the mythology and the religious poetry of every major faith, that there is something called heaven, but they didn't recognize what that is. It's the souls of other people who are actually partially incarnated, at least, on other planets, because the universe is interconnected, and they are there. It's something that many people have referred to as the Akashic record. It is the underlying subtext of the film and the book Cosmos, that somebody is there, and they are listening. You're not alone in the universe. God is in everything and everyone, and it's about our creative imaginations. What we bring out of the nothingness and discover that it wasn't nothingness at all. It was rich and it was full, and you have it within you. So I'm going to do the ceremony now, and I love you. I'm not angry with anybody. I've spoken, I think, with every female, most of every female. There's one or two that I do not have there's one, a younger woman who married in, who had an adoptive mother, who I have not been able to speak with recently, but I spoke with her certainly within the last few years. And so it's not a long time, and I'm sure we can recoup that connection. Other than that, I've spoken with every woman on all of our branches of our family tree: the Margulies, the Silver kind, the Zal kind, the Feldmarian, every woman, and in some cases, some of the women with their young sons and the young son. I am trying to communicate with that on all our branches, and this includes certainly Vanessa. Vanessa and I haven't made direct contact. However, I believe that Vanessa knows the universe knows that I'm reaching out to Vanessa. The universe is probably informing her at some level. It may be a quantum level, but it is there. And her mother, that I'm reaching out to them. And that is not to harm or destabilize any other woman. It's to assist every other woman, particularly my own sister, to have the very best future. The very most gorgeous, miraculous, marvelous future, with many, many generations to look forward to, that live in the light, not like apes, but like Jesuses, goddesses and godlike, equinox true Qs. So now I'm going to do the ceremony. I love you all. And Georgine, this very much includes you. You're a very central person here. You have the name Golden in your name for a reason, my dear. And both you and Geodora have Geo in your name. You both have the earth in your names. You are there to protect this earth. You are afraid to. You're afraid, Julianne Marie and you are afraid of each other. You don't have to be. Let me be your bridge over troubled waters. Darlings, I love you, and I love everybody, and Goddess God truly loves everybody. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm broadcasting this. I actually didn't have it on mute. I'm going to put it on mute now. I didn't intend Okay, first we're going to play the tape.
And then she said she couldn't be the maid for everybody. She just wants me to that. That's when she came back and started to spell the pants with the global center. Her whole love was to care for children. She didn't, it was so easy just to get along, evidently. She was careful, very careful. And there was a sister, Clara.
Okay, now I'll do the ceremony, and if you're watching, you can see me do it. I'm holding up all the things I'll be saying, you know. Now, we do this ceremony as if we were at this beautiful place that was a gathering place for at least 3 decades of women who often came with their youth and their children, female and male, to try on hats at a time when women were pretty much seen as accessories to the lives of men. But they got some self-esteem from looking at themselves in the mirror and from talking with each other about their lives. This was some time after our immigrant grandma, Ray, had come past the Statue of Liberty as she came to Ellis Island. Most of these women came past the Statue of Liberty as they came into Ellis Island. They could not have known, I did not know, until about within the last year or so, that that Statue of Liberty was in fact the goddess Astra, the goddess of divine justice of the Atlantis civilization. She sits looking out on the Atlantic. We know now that in 1884, the Gortina Code was found on the Isle of Crete. The Gortina Code is etched into rock and in a language that goes back and forth, right to left and left to right, which shows the ability to travel back and forth in time. But the sad thing is etched into the rock is the gradual degradation of the female and the lowering and lowering and lowering of her rights. And it was sometime while that was occurring that Mount Thera erupted. And then we entered this patriarchal error period on this earth. We had a very long time with Atlantis, and Atlantis had a very large reach that was egalitarian. But after the eruption of Thera, the people got confused, and they thought that all that counted was accumulated hard, cold coinage and who you could conquer. And that made you a great nation. And one after another, these people who were minting coins and conquering and conquering and conquering, they had their heyday and they all fell. And each and every one of them had slaves, and each and every one of them had a lot of misery. And in each and every one of them, the women were not considered equal. So is this clear? Do you see what I'm trying to tell you? You can pull out of this juggernaut because you have the information. This information came to me through the internet. The internet is a creation of the most common element on Earth, sand. The solar power panel is a creation of the most common element on the planet Earth, sand. You are the most common element. You are the people. You are the common people, and you have the common sense. It is what we have in common that makes us divine, not what separates us. When we know that and we treat one another as if we were all kind family, then the stargates open and there is heaven on every earth that we are in contact with. And we do reclaim and resurrect the souls. The reason there is a poem on the Statue of Liberty by a woman by the name of Emma Lazarus is because her name, I'm telling you this is a fact, Emma means the holy or entire group. Emma, Ima, Lazarus. Lazarus is the name we associate with something that has passed away, that comes back to life. We have been living in a a not completely living state. It's called patriarchy because we have depressed our divine feminine for thousands of years. That's why we have these huge nuclear stockpiles and so many poor people. Because we are completely out of balance and we have suppressed the divine feminine. So that's why I do these ceremonies, and the light is the heart. It has to start with the heart for the divine feminine, risen, but that is also the heart for all humanity, because that's what all humanity needs. And we have it wrapped around with pictures of our generations, you know. And here we have the budding, blooming flowers. We have with us the marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers and water. We have with us the light is on in all our hearts. We'll say namaste, bahava, l'chaim, shalom, salam, salam, shalom. Mitakuye oyasin becomes mitakuye koyasev Reall. We are all related enough to know that we are required to do something better than what we're doing in kindness as family together, because all people on this earth are, in fact, no more than 50th cousina and cousin from everyone else. We all have common ancestry, much more closely related and intertwined than we thought. And we say kongs am pax. That was what they said at the Eleusinian Mysteries. The Eleusinian Mysteries were officiated by women, brilliant women who were considered goddess incarnations, priestesses. The whole point of their ceremony was to confer immortality first on young women and then on young men. That's what they did. And the whole of thousands of people from the cities of Atlantis, of Crete, came. Like a really big holiday service. Really big, like at a stadium or an amphitheater. Because they thought it was so important that they have a chance to gain immortality. I'm giving it to you now on basis of social science. We understand that patriarchy causes stress. That when you change patriarchy to parity, you don't have stress anymore, and you are eternally young. So, so the light is on in all our hearts. We have this marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers, and we also will say to your best, Sedleric, Mir, Pace, Merci, Shus, Shansvag, Sayonara, Chop Chop, lots of every languages. What's the word I should say? Buenos dias. We have all of this. We have all of this. Okay? All of these languages are ours. And we'll also say, love and live longest, eternally young, and prosper, everyone and all. Because we're all important. We're all made by the Mother, Father, Goddess, God. They do not create junk. And if we stop acting like all that counts is what exists within our four walls and understand that we're all interconnected on this planet, then we will be following the rule of the Mother, Father, Goddess, God. So I'll say it again, and holding it again reciprocally. The light is on in all our hearts. We have with us marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers. Hugs and love to all, both in each and every one as soon as possible. Again, I'll say that again, and again each way. Hugs and love to all, both in each and every one as soon as possible. And again. Okay, I'm holding them again. Okay, and now we're going to do the milk. Now, who are the women at this ceremony? Of course, it says Hera, Harriet, and Rhea, and Clara, and with little and with Lillian Gay, and Lillian Gay's children, Lillian Gay's sisters, Lillian Gay's sister cousins. They lived not so far away, but it was a different neighborhood. They all stayed away from each other because, you know, there was a class difference, they thought. And we also including Anna Marie and Ma Patricia and all of their family, Myrtle and Rosa and Pearl and Marie, because Their generations had all the land that you're on. All of it belonged to their people. They lost hundreds and thousands of millions right where you are. You owe something to the memory of a Holocausted people, especially because our heritage is part of it. We're Holocausted people. You have to remember their souls are awaiting you like the figure in the movie Cosmos, waiting for Ellie and you now to open the stargates so they can become risen, like Lazarus, Emma Lazarus was talking about. Start with the Emas, the Ema Lazarus. Let the women rise and become risen. They're there. There's a big episode in Star Trek where they call the planet, I think, Darvan 5. It's a planet of Native Americans. Some very brilliant writer for Star Trek series, inspired by the original vision of Majel Barrett and Jean Roddenberry, and probably his other women of his family too. Ms. Rex wrote, there's others. He got this understanding of anthropology that was very similar to to what Margaret Mead was writing about. And they understood that the Native Americans knew something that Westerners need. That's why they created the characters Chakotay in the film, in that episode too. They didn't show enough about the women, though, which goes to show that probably the writer of that episode was a male. But there were women, and women in the Iroquois and in the Cherokee and in all of many of the heritages, the Navajo, the women were equal to the men. They were considered to be the primary movers, absolutely necessary to keeping to the government intact of their tribes, and they were the clan mothers, and they were fully respected. So we're also including them. Now, I'm going to start with her because I want to make the connection. The Sweet family had an ancestor by the name of Jenny Sweet. She was related to the Sagan family. The Sagan family had an ancestor, Carl's mother, whose name was Rachel. Her name was Rachel. And she was considered a brilliant woman. She was entirely self-taught. I don't think she had any advanced degrees, but everyone who knew her thought she was a genius. That was his mother. But she had no honor of her own. She lived through her son, not completely enough through her daughter, who became a social worker, and who she sometimes degraded. And in fact, the father degraded the daughter too, because they were also Russian. I've been in touch with some of the women of this family, and I can tell you that this was really going on. Okay, now, if Carl Sagan's sister and he had worked together throughout his life, and his first wife, Lynn Margulies, who was our Kazina on the Margulies side, did not have the overburdening layer of patriarchy on her head, we'd have had the stargates opened. You know it. It would have been opened already. So that's our job. We have to do that. So now I'm also naming, of course, I think I started our group as Harriet, Reall, Clara Raya, Precious Antoinette. Precious Antoinette had many daughters we know of, Adele and Lillian and more. We don't know her sisters' names. I bet she had several. And she had certainly loads of sister Kazinas. And we also know of Rose. Rose likely had a sister or many sister Kazinas, but we don't know their names. We know she had a daughter named Annette. We know she had a granddaughter named Marcia. They are also included here at this Hatzor home gathering. Okay, and we're also including all the Feldmarian family. We've got okay. I didn't include. We have to Grandma Popper. That goes back to Europe. One of the most famous theologians of Europe was a man by the name of Karl Popper. We don't know about his mother. Maybe they were related. She was likely a genius. Everyone said that Isaac Newton's mother was a genius. She was almost burnt to the stake at the stake as a witch. he had to protect his mother. But he probably would have told people that he got many of his ideas from his mother. But remember, these women were living at a time when women were not allowed to go to school. It was considered unnatural for them to go to school. They could not be literate. They might have been brilliant, but they weren't allowed to read. Some of them learned to read on the sly, like Yentl, okay? But they weren't supposed to. So this is what we're dealing with patriarchy. And you're just beginning to come out of this mess. Okay, and let's see. And so now we've mentioned Grandma Popper, Antoinette, Zalka, the Rose and her family. And now what about our Feldmarian relations? We have Grandma Popper and we have Dorothy. We have know of Mary. She's another of this all kind. Mary of flowing kindness. Her name is a goddess name of kindness. It's the ultimate name. In most of the goddess names of the world, there's a Ma or Mara, Marie, Maria, Ma. It's all Ma and Ra, all paired all over the place. And in China, they have Magu and Mazu, really. And they have Amaterasu in Japan. Everywhere is a Ma. It's about the mother. And she's in all women. Women have, even if they don't bear children, they have estrogen. And it gives them a mothering feeling toward other people. So then I also, I'm also honoring the Feldmarian women. We are married into them through the line of, through a man, but who was a younger son, and I'm going to get to that issue. We're honoring our family, starting with the younger men. Two will be coming into this, as they did in the Elysian ceremonies, but after the young women did. So Dorothy had people all the way back to the beginning of time too. On the Feldmarian wing, we have lots of Feldmarian family that we know about now and that we've been connecting with, and they are poetesses and artists and early childhood bonding specialists, psychologists, and nutritionists. And so are some of the Margulises that. I did neglected to talk about the surnames. The Margulies. Boy, have we got a bunch of stellar people on the Margulies line that you don't seem to want to recognize are important. You know about a famous actress. She's got two sisters. Alexandra, which means the savior of the world. If we could bring her into this process, we would save the world. Her other sister is Rachel. Her name is Juliana. Her mother's name is Francesca, which is a clue to gender parity. France. Our family, through the Magdalene line, was in France. The French have gender parity. Our family, through the line of Rebbitzin and Rashi of Troyes, were egalitarian, way before anybody else. Our family is always on the forefront of egalitarianism. But on the Feldmarian line, we also have all this Romanian-Hungarian connection, which is the Unitarians. The Unitarians had Isabella and Sigismund, a mother and a son, who, while all the rest of Europe was killing each other over this brand of Christianity against that brand of Christianity, all made into state religions, the Romanian Unitarian Universalists were holding open-air dialogues between people of all the various religions with a law against any harm to come to any of them. That was the law that Isabella and her son John Sigismund passed, that nobody could get into trouble with anybody else because of their religious ideas, that there was complete tolerance and people could just talk and learn from one another. So, and their line became the Unitarian and then the Unitarian Universalist Church, which gives us some of the most famous people in the U.S. story. A lot of people attribute that to Thomas Jefferson, certainly Ralph Waldo Emerson, and among women, Louisa May Alcott, Elizabeth Blackstone and her sisters, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Garrett Smith, well, let me say Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Harriet Cady Stanton, Harriet Cady, and her daughter, Harriet Cady Stanton. All of these people were Unitarians. They did not want to say, I'm just this kind of religion and I'm just that kind of religion and I don't want anything to do with the rest of you. They wanted to bring together, in a sense of unity, all of the good faith and the good works of people. So that's part of our line too, through the Feldmarians, because they were in Romania and Hungary. And they spoke, the Unitarians in Romania spoke Hungarian. So we have to know this. This is part of our heritage. The people of Judaism and the people of Christianity got caught in the patriarchal stuckedness. Then came out of that even more patriarchal fratricidal groups like the Sunnis and the Shiites. Even they, if they go back into their heritage, they'll discover there was a goddess by the name of Allat, A-L-L-A-T, who was considered in the early time equal and indispensable to Allah. The early pantheons usually had a female and male inequality. And many of them in the very early times had the female a little bit more important than the male. She gave birth to him. Osiris came out of Isis. She gave birth to him. She interacted with the universe and gave birth to him. He did not give birth to her. Okay, you understand that it makes sense because all human beings have an X chromosome. Everybody starts out as a female. That divine feminine is essential, and when you suppress it for too long among women and then among men, you have disaster on your hands. And every society that did that for too long destroyed itself, or was destroyed by another society that was identical and they having the same problem. They went at each other and they destroyed each other. So we can't do that. So you have this knowledge, and now I'll get on to the most important parts of our ceremony. We have the marvelous, miraculous milk here, the milk of human kindness, especially the on-cue breastfeeding, that we must make the way of the world. It is one of the most important aspects of what females do, and even females who don't have children have to support it for other females, and men have to support it too. So we'll drink the milk of human kindness for all, both and each, and everyone as soon as possible. That's why we call it the Milky Way. Breastfeeding for everyone. On cue, we'll open up the stargates. Okay, and we have with us the water of loving, enlightened, loving, living planets that will regain and sustain our planet Earth and all our planets to be, past, present, and future. Opening the stargates and also having solar-powered vessels. Obviously, that is possible. We have a solar airplane that traversed the entire world now. It made a full worldwide flight with no fueling, just solar power. So obviously, we can do that in interplanetary connection. Obviously. So we'll drink to the enlightened, loving, living planets that will regain and sustain all our planet Earth to be past, present, and future together. And now, we'll do the birthday cakes. Oops. Okay. We'll celebrate and re-celebrate all our birthdays, conception days, name days, and holy days together. We'll start with our equinox birthdays and conception days and name days and holy days, especially our youth and also our women and our youth, equally important. Both have been suppressed for too long. They all need to recognize. The women are particularly quite confused right now. We want to repair their confusion and recognize the goddesshood within them, the older women. Very important. And the youth will benefit from that and do that toward their mothers as they celebrate their own and each other's birthdays too. And we'll celebrate and re-celebrate all our birthdays, conception days, name days, and holidays together as equinox true cues. And yes, that includes my equinox and Marie's equinox birthdays and our Christmas time on the traditional Christmas dates and solstice dates, conception dates, but it also includes your birth dates and conception days. You are, through my intercession, L evens. You are L evens. You always have the Eloha and the Elohim working together, and you are restoring the Eloha. And that's what's so important. Okay, and now we'll do the pictures. So I think I should know. There's a lot of other women in our family tree. There's Ann Rita and Marilyn. There's another sister pair. They've been included. They know they've been included. We've included, I've included Barbara and Diana and Sarah. I've included Donna. I don't know her natural birth mother's name, but if we include her and her adoptive mother and all their sister Kazinas. We also included Anissa and Lynn's mother, Iona, and we also include Iona Vargas, who's a woman who does the family reunions, tending to be focused mostly on African-American unions, but very much giving the methods to all people, who's a social worker also. And at Temple University, and that tells you something. A temple that's a university that's a temple. When you learn something, you're doing a holy act. And now with the internet, our other one of our Margulies family people, I was looking the other day just now because I want to do some of this on this channel. Anne Margulies at MIT started the open source project, and every kind of topic and course is available. And one of them is women's studies. And there's a huge area of women's studies. And even if you go to places like YouTube and other places on the internet, you'll find lots and lots of videos about stories that you were not told when you went to school, about not only women who served the greater good, but also the goddess aspect too of ancient religions. All of this is now very easily available online. And you have, once you're on the cube continuum, time to learn it. And then you learn about the gods, the male gods that did good. Marsyas, god of agriculture. Apollo, god of light. The ones that were not warlike. The ones that gave life, not death. Okay? Then you'll know what the true continuum is really about. The equinox true continuum. And now, we have our consciousness currencies. We have our consciousness currencies. They each are, they show all your pictures, all of you. You know, I've included Marian Hadass, I've included Soma and Meredith, I've included Stacy and Anastasia, Cheryl, and Merle, and there's others. We got, oh, I forgot to mention with Diana, we've got Linda, we've got other young women. And most important, let me not leave out, very, very important to all of us, I tell you, this is the central branch. Victoria and Victoria and Estrella and Libertia and Mariama, with Sharon and Raquel, who are the family of Vanessa. And we also, I am also including Deborah, with Annabelle, with Irene and Lillian and Hortense, and also Tracy, and especially Julie and Dory and Julie, and Pauline and Annie, and all of the branches that came in through that moment that we didn't quite make a good. And all I've forgotten: Helene and Bacha and Sherry and Arlene and Thelma and Lee and of course their mother Lucille, who was a child of Antoinette, and all of the family all the way back. You just have to include everyone. We're including Sally and Ruby and Pearl and Deborah and Paula. All these people that you've been ignoring, all these people that you've all been ignoring, they're all here, and I've got them here, and they're all within me. And all the people we ever went to school with, Esther and Ilsa and their mothers, Esther and Ilsa and Judy and Sarah, and of course Lynn and Nisa and Ayon, and Joanne and Misha, and Lois and Mickey, and there's more and more, Barbara, and I'm forgetting some of their names, Karen and Sylvia, all of them that we ever knew. Deborah and Mita and their mother, and Joyce, and the other Joyce, and Amy, and all of the women that you ever knew, and all their mothers and all their Shekinah, way back to the beginning of time, get what they didn't have: parity, 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 parity. And here we have the consciousness currencies of the value of a society which does this, and embodied in each and every one of you as a gift giver. You're worth trillions and zillions. And let me say, I almost forgot, Georgine, and her family, Malka, and Sarah, and others that we need to know the names of, and all the family of that female family and all their youth, female and male, age 37 and younger. And Eudora and all of her family, and Martha and all of her family, all their females and all their youth, female and male, 37 and younger. And I use that 37 as an approximate date. The whole point is that it's a person who is yet able to understand the advantage of an egalitarian relationship between genders instead of a hierarchical one. Okay, and some overlap in what they do, especially in democracy. They have to make decisions together. And so here's the consciousness currencies. And here is our family tree. And then, you know, you've seen online that I connected this to the families of, well, Oprah is connected to us, and Koratha and his family of sisters, his mother, Albertina, and Christine, his sister who teaches at Spelman College right now, and all of that first family. And then we have that other first family, Ethel, and we have Rose, and we have Jacqueline, okay, and we have Maria, and all of the Skakel, Brannock Skakel, Fitzgerald, Bouvier, Hannon, Fitzgerald, Bouvier, Shriver, Owings, Cuomo, Bailey, women, and their men age 37 and younger, and those who are trying to support an egalitarian culture. And then we have to bring back into it their men who were also very noble and trying very hard, but like the men of Camelot, they failed, because just like Camelot, in their time, they didn't include Avalon, and so it fell. We can raise them up again. Caroline and Kathleen, who's right here in Maryland, and her daughters, and all of there's whole bunches of them here, right here in Maryland. They're right near me. And then, of course, with Anne Marie and her family, and all the Hispanic families, Dolores and her daughters, I forget all their names. What about the family? It wasn't only Caesar who did the boycotts. It was Dolores. Dolores. What about those Hispanic people that intermarried with the Native Americans here? Okay, that's a very important group in our culture. And they are connected to the Europeans too. Obviously, you have someone right there in Chicago. We are including Anna Marie and her sister Julianne, because they have names very similar to other overlapping names in our group. And we know that Anne Marie is working very hard to safeguard Mother Nature. And we have to help her sister become more involved too. So I'm doing this family tree. If there's anyone that I've left out, I know I should say Linda and Michelle and Jessica and Jennifer, and there's many more. There's many more. And of course, Stacy Anastasia with Cheryl and with Andrea and Jill, and there's many more. Okay, so I think I've covered enough for you to get the idea of names. I love you all. You all are holy. You have holy being within you. But as long as women are avoiding talking with each other about parity, you're creating a horror for yourself and each other. And I can't seem to wake you up. And so I guess you have to find out the hard way. And I'm praying to Mother, Father, Goddess, God, that it will not be a final hard way for you, but that it will give you a little bit of wiggle room, and that you'll learn from it if there is something that happens to you that gives you heavy duty feedback. Okay, and I'm also reaching out. I should mention to you also that Chelsea's baby, Charlotte, is a Margulies. Okay, so we're connected to that family. And that family also came from Illinois. And Michelle and Maya and their family came through Illinois. This is the heartland, and now I'm in Mariam land, and I'm telling you all, you have the great Mother Goddess in you by virtue of your names. You have the gold and the silver and the full count, which is what Zal means. Zal means to count. And it also starts with a Z, and it tells us that if we don't get wisdom in this generation, we're dead doo-doos. So let's figure it out. And we have that big family tree here. Let me make a little more room so I can back up and you can see it all together. Okay. Okay. And now I have very deep bonds to the people who were raised by my mother and who are loved by people who know them. And I want them, and I really, there's some more people that should be pictured here. I'd like to be able to picture Victoria and Estrella and Mariama and Georgine and all of the various families. And we have both of the siblings here, 2 sets of the women's siblings and the young man, but we don't have all of this here. And I'm going to make something well, I'm holding up them here with my hand. Of the digits of my hand represent them. They're here, okay? And we'll say, okay, and now we'll go back to the big family tree again. That's so deeply connected to this place of this home that was the gathering of women and youth for the purpose of a better community. And we have other houses too that are depicted on the picture that you see with the home that was the hat shop. We also show other homes that our family has lived in and had women and men together, but were hampered in their achievements by patriarchy. So now that we're giving them also parity. We're giving all of the women and the men who lived in these homes the gift of a parity culture, the gift of Atlantis, that they grew up in Atlantis instead of a fallen patriarchal mess that is so far fallen now that I can't tell you, because you're confusing tokenism with parity, and tokenism is what Martin Luther King called the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. You've been put to sleep, and while you've been put to sleep, they've been reestablishing old-time patriarchy and to kibosh you with it all with it. And they don't seem to care that they'll end the planet. They just, quote, want to die on top. A bunch of old sociopathic men. So here we have you. You are the co-secretary general's co-savioras. You are the spring. We're going to have you come forth as co-hostesses and co-host. And you're going to do this with me. And you're going to find out that Goddess God will protect you and you are not in any danger. So Okay, and I'll also say, as we always do, show off the clear glass bowl with our multicolors of fruit and vegetables, and also included in this are world globes and white chocolate wrapped in gold to symbolize the new millennial golden rule. And we'll start fresh with paradisal parity instead of plutonic patriarchal planeticide. We'll start fresh. You are the fresh. Let's be renewed. Okay, and now we say, again, we're holding up the flowers and the heart light. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. We'll say all the blessings and all the greetings of all the heritages and all the languages and all the heritages of our earth and our earth, past, present, and futurists, co-secretary generals, co-saviorahs, equinox, true cues, beyond borders, beyond nationalism, certainly with no gender hierarchy, certainly appreciating the divine feminine who anoints the divine masculine into also having the ability of immortality. And that is what we're doing. And so we'll do the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And you watch that film and you'll see that that film is all about the balance of yin and yang and the accounting of women's worth and work and the importance of children and youth and love and not power over others and not a niggardly, or I don't like to use that word, a cruel and penny pinching approach to other human beings, but one that gives them credit and asks them to rise to their best selves. Okay, and so now we'll say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. We'll say all the blessings and all the greetings of all the heritages of our earth and our earth, past, present, and future, and all. And we'll say love and live eternally young, longest, and prosper everyone in all. As equinox, true cues, co-secretary generals, co-saviorahs. That's you. That's you. So, but if you don't understand what I'm talking about, give me a call and I'll explain it to you. And if you keep not talking with each other, you're going to get yourself in a very bad situation there. So remember, you can call me 24/7. And I pray to Goddess God that your situation won't be so bad that we can't get you out of it. And that's what I'm hoping. I have other tasks to do to make this possible because we have a macro level disaster occurring. I hope you don't think that what you're seeing on television is real. It is wag the dog. All the stuff about the election is all wag the dog. They've already decided, the boardrooms have already decided to anoint a Republican that will do their bidding. Or if they can get a Democrat to pretend to be a Democrat but is actually a Republican, give it to them. So it's all a lie, okay? You should really be able to figure that out by now. And the thing is, the liars are lying to themselves. We'd like to give them eternal life too. We'd like to help them out of patriarchy too. They can have Atlantis risen too. So having said all that, I think I can leave this as a message for you all. I am going to do some individual extensions now, calling too. And I have great faith in you all, but you have not been giving me much reason for that. So why don't you get over the barriers? Connect with me. Connect with Anna Marie and Ma Patricia. I just got a call from Ma Patricia today. You know, they're staying in touch. They're hanging, they're holding on. They know what they have gotten themselves to do is a big task. And they're making arrangements to do it a little better. And I want you to empower them and co-empower them with me. They've already done the broadcast here at least 4 times. Anne Marie's done it with me. And you've heard from Rasa and Sylvia, and we're going to hear them again. And there's some other people who have been volunteering also, and I have to make the arrangements for this to be something that will occur soon. But no one is more precious and better qualified than you. You are the most qualified people in the world to open up the stargates and give eternal life. I love you. I give you huge hugs. And I say that we will be able to help older men understand their role in this too. The first thing that older men need to do is confront with each other what the patriarchal system does to the female and how willingly women, because of their estrogen, try to conform with it, and how dangerous that is, not only for them, but for men. Women are their own worst enemies. They are too willing to conform and not articulate the truth, which is that they have been subjugated and exploited, and that they are not equal, and they have to be for society to work. So I love you. Equal in decision making, that's the key issue. Equal in decision making of when the laws are made. And equal, and the genders have to be more equal in the balance of love and work. We do have to regain the time for men to be with their children, grandchildren, and their nieces and nephews, and not feel like they're, quote, wasting their time. Because men have gifts to give to their youngers too, that are important, and they have to do so with an attitude that respects the women around them too, as equals. So I love you, and I'm going to send this message, and I'll be making some individual calls too. I hope you've enjoyed it, and as you see, I am broadcasting. I've been broadcasting this entire thing. It's this entire Alltimate co-savioral mysteries. You are a holy family. I don't want you to withhold from one another anymore from me. I know my value. I may not be a perfect co-Christ, but I'm a pretty good one now, given the fact that I made so many mistakes and waited so long to figure out who I was. So I'm working at it for you. I'm not giving up on you or me or Goddess God or anything or anyone. Hold on, but come as co-hostesses and co-hosts. You know I make the rounds of calling you, all of you. Start heeding the calls, returning them, and come on the conference line. And if you need to call me between time, you can reach me 24/7. Huge hugs, huge hugs, huge hugs, huge hugs, huge hugs.
To save this message, press 1. Your greeting has been saved. To change extension type, press 1.
Okay, now I'm going on the mute, and I'm going to make some other calls.
3.